Hey everybody, it's Jesse. Sorry, I did not get the tweet out about this video until 3 minutes ago. So I don't know if how many people rely on Twitter to know when I'm gonna go live. So maybe it'll be a little bit slower here at the beginning in terms of viewers. Also, I didn't even get the event scheduled until maybe about an hour ago. So today's just been, I got in late and I had all kind of stuff going on. I actually just interviewed a student who's interested in working with my department. So that would be awesome if it works out. I know he has another interview with a company near here as well. So I wish him luck with that, but hopefully he decides to work with us. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait. I'm not gonna get started for maybe a couple minutes. We'll just talk for a little bit, just to wait for some people to come in because I alerted this so late. There we go. Okay, now we're at a normal. It was showing 7 viewers for a while, and now it just jumped to 54. So that's closer to our normal amount of viewers. All right. We got some people. Looks like some new faces, new names in the live chat that I don't remember seeing before. So hey everybody. Ooh, we got hello from the Ukraine. Awesome. And let's see. Tell me if I pronounce this wrong. Is it Laquita or Lakita? Let me know if I pronounce that right. But on time for a live chat, so awesome. And Yusuf asked, will you do a to-do app with React from scratch? Okay, now we're picking up. We're up over 70 viewers now, so let's get started. All right, everybody's shouting out where they're from. We got India, Barcelona, UK. Awesome. Thanks for watching. From Chile, from Rome. Awesome. Wow, we got people from all over. So, and it looks like we're getting some retweets here. So that's picking up fast. From Los Angeles, Romania. All right. So today, I'm really excited about this topic, and this was totally, I hadn't planned on doing this today, but I got a pull request from, well, I actually got 2 pull requests, so let me bring these over just to show you, because I want to give credit where it is due. So between yesterday's show and today's show, I got 2 pull requests. This one is from Danny, and you can check I'm not going to go through all these on the air because you can see in the link in the show description. You can check these out. But I had some cool stuff here, kind of preparing for even more. So I'm expecting, I guess, another pull request here. But did some optimization things. So no changes that would really be visible like to the user. But definitely going to make things more readable, easier to maintain in terms of the code. The other pull request, this is what we're going to be talking about today. So Vinay, this is his second pull request. He had a great one, I think it was a few days ago, or maybe, I think it was Friday that we talked about yesterday. But this one, so if you were here yesterday for the live chat, there was some talk about using some linters and things to try to get more of a standard style to the coding. So I've been a little bit sloppy in coding this, and in general I've been sloppy for 2 reasons. One, the timeline for this was really tight, so I just kind of cut corners in terms of formatting everything properly to get it launched. Also, it's always been just me working on projects, and that's allowed me to get a little bit lazy because nobody's ever around to call me out on it. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. That's definitely not a good thing, but that's just how it happened. But now it makes a lot more sense for me to have kind of a standard format for my code, because all of you are looking at the code and you're helping me. We're collaborating on this. So great idea. So we're going to use, I don't know if you can hear that, but my stomach is growling. So if you hear that, I'm sorry. Sorry, but I just, I forgot to eat today. So I don't know if that happens to you, but sometimes you just get working and, before you know it, you haven't eaten. So I'll have to make sure I eat after this stream. So we're going to use a couple of things, and you've probably been seeing some of these things. I know at least I've been seeing them on Twitter a lot mentioned. Prettier and Standard JS. I'm going to kind of take you through what I did. I know it looks like I haven't merged these yet, but I did merge them. I just haven't pushed it back up to GitHub. But let me bring over two things. I'm going to bring over my command line, and I'm also going to bring over, or I'm going to show you the code. I've linked in the show notes to Standard JS, their website, and to the website for Prettier. So you can check that out, kind of as we're going if you want to learn more about it. And first of all, let me show you, I want to show you the amount of errors that I had once I finally ran this. So let me go back up. So this is kind of, I slowly just narrowed down the errors. I think this is the first set. So at first I had all these errors of just things. A lot of them was components that I had imported or into another component, and then I never used it. So I guess at some point thought I was going to use it and then never removed it. I was really surprised at how many of those there were, because I thought that I was usually pretty careful about that, but evidently I was not. So those are a bunch of stuff there. Also, if you remember from our episode whenever we were making jQuery work with React, and we had a bunch of functions in a separate file in our what file was it? Our app.js file? Yeah. So we had in a separate file, we had these functions that were using jQuery, but then we were calling them in component did mount. So when we're using Standard JS, which uses ESLint kind of behind the scenes, it was looking at that component and saying, you're trying to call this function and it's not defined. It was defined in our other document. And then not only that, but it was looking at that document where we actually had defined those functions and saying, hey, you defined this and you never used it. So most of the errors I had were because of that. Okay, so not really a big deal. So I'll show you how I fix those errors, because I'm guessing that maybe if you're going to try to use this for the first time, you might run into some of these errors as well. I mean, hopefully you're not as bad as I was with with my code and you don't get as many errors. But I'll show you how to go over those, how to fix those errors. I'm going to show you my package JSON first, so that if you want to try this out but you don't really want to pull down my code, you can just kind of piece it together. So let's move this off before I show you how I did those. And we'll go to my package JSON. Let me know if this is too small. I could probably, let me make it a little bit bigger right now. I don't want to make it too big because I want you to be able to see kind of the big picture here of what we have now that we didn't have before. And I have some things up here that are new too, but they don't really apply to what we're talking about today. So basically we have this whole section now that's dev dependencies, and this is what has been brought in. Okay, and remember, this is all from Vinay's pull requests. Almost none of this is stuff that I did. The only thing in here that I did on my own was I imported this Babel ESLint package, and I'll explain why I needed that in a minute. So basically, these four things got this working, and then we have some new commands. So we have this lint. All right, we have pre-commit, and then we have lint staged. All right, so we have a lot of things going here. Where basically Vinay set this up, which was very, very nice of him. He set all this up to look through all my folders where I had components and JavaScript files, and to go through, lint those, and then automatically reformat them based on the standard JS specifications. Okay, so that's what the linting, all right, is more like the standard JS. The reformatting is from Prettier. Okay, and if you check out the docs for those, you'll see. So this is what's added. Also, I added this part down here, and this was basically to deal with some of the errors. So I'll talk about that in a second when I deal with those errors. And that's it. And as soon as I'm going to push this code, I might as well do it right now. Let me push this to GitHub right now so you can follow along and everything is up to date. On my other screen, I'm just making this. I figure you all know how to run a commit, but also you see this is new. So this is basically this is happening right when we run a commit. Before we were just doing a commit. Now all of this runs before the commit happens. So really you can't make a commit now without everything being put in a standard format, which is awesome. And that was from Vinay. That's what his additions here are doing. All right, so all this is now being pushed to the master branch and it's completed. So if you go to the repo on the master branch, you can see all of this. You can open up the package JSON. You can see everything I'm talking about and follow along. So let me talk about some of these errors. I'm not going to go over every single error, just the ones that I think were kind of like, it was kind of tricky for me to figure out and kind of like to share how to get around those. So let's see, we had these ones, as I said, are really easy. I just defined these components and hadn't used them. Okay, so some of these, like I said, I had been defining these functions and not actually using them. Well, I was defining them in the app.js file but not using them there. And then I was using them in components, but it was coming up as not defined. So here's how I got around that. So for some of them, like for fetch and for the $, I just added them globally as since I use fetch in almost all the page level components. So if you just add this, this whole section here, okay, including the ending things, that fixed that. So basically that just lets ESLint know that it's okay. You can use these, they're defined somewhere and it's alright to use. So that fixed those errors. But then you don't want to do this for everything. Let's say you only use something once. You don't want to make it a global. So at the page level, I did something like this. So I use, in component did mount, I use init tabs. Okay, this is, like I said, this is defined over here in app.js. So what I did here is I just added at the top in the comment global and then the name of this function. Okay, and that got rid of that error. And I did a similar thing in every component. I just put the name of the function. So that got rid of those errors. No big deal. In reality, at some point, if I have more time, now I know I've discussed this already with all of you that this project needs to wind up. So there's some things that I know should be done that may not get done because they're not essential to the project functioning, and I need to move on because I have a lot of other projects that are lining up that I need to start working on. So we'll see. Maybe if I get some of these student workers, that might be a good thing, a good project for them to come in and do some of this. But I figure, there's definitely a better way to do this than to have all this going in a separate file. So that may happen at some point. Now the next error that I do want to talk about that was the trickiest was this one. So in resources.js, which is the file we're in now, it said there's a parsing error unexpected token equals on line, in this case it was line 11, which this is probably different now since I had changed it. So the line it is now is 12. So it was basically throwing an error because we did this. So the way that I found to get around this is basically it wasn't recognizing that like we're using this class here. Okay, so it had something to do with that. I'm not claiming that I know technically everything that was going on, but basically the problem was that this is a newer syntax and it needed to recognize that as a newer syntax. So that's why I installed this Babel ESLint. Okay, if you're not familiar with Babel, that's a transpiler that lets you use the latest JavaScript syntax, and it turns it into older syntax that older browsers can handle. Okay, so I imported this, so just yarn add Babel ESLint, and then I added the flag hyphen capital D. Okay, or you could do hyphen hyphen dev. Either way, it'll put in your dev dependencies. That added it here, and then down here you can say what parser you want ESLint to use. So I added this to the parser. So I'm saying ESLint, but just recognize that it's standard that's doing this, but it's using ESLint kind of in the background. Okay, so we are talking about standard JS. All right, so that's it. That's the only things I really had to do. I guess I'll show you the app.js just in case. Hopefully this won't be an issue with you because you won't have all these functions sitting in a separate file like this. But all I did was, all these functions are the ones that I'm using in components and I'm not using in this particular file. So at the top I just did ESLint disable, and then at some point down here I re-enable ESLint. So I enable it again here. Okay, so the disadvantage is like everything in here is not getting linted properly. Although I did run lint before I did this, so all the other errors that were in here I fixed. So these are all okay because I did it beforehand. So you can actually like specifically put in like the one rule that you want to rule out inside here, but I couldn't find what it was. I tried a couple of different ones and it wasn't working. So just for the sake of getting this working before the video, I just disabled everything within here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's all it took. I mean, on my end, that's all it took to get this working. Vinay, I'm sure, had more work on his end, and you can check out his pull request to see all the work that he did and everything that changed, all the files that changed. But at this point, let me show you the results. I know I've been ignoring the live chat for a few minutes. I will get to you and I'll answer the questions in just a minute, but I wanted to try getting to the point quickly and getting through it because usually what happens is I get a bunch of viewers right off the bat, and then I kind of mess around a little bit and just kind of talk about some general things before we get started, and I usually lose a bunch of people, probably because this maybe is their first time viewing and they're thinking like, what's this guy doing? I thought he was going to talk about whatever the title of the video is. So that's why I'm ignoring the live chat right now, but I'll get to it in a minute. I just want to give you an example of how everything is now formatted, kind of auto-formatted. And let's try to do a side-by-side. So I'm going to bring up this code, and you can open this up in GitHub as well. On my other screen, I'm just opening up this project in GitHub, and I'm going to kind of go back in time to a previous commit before I did all this. And we're just going to check out, since I have the resources page up, let's just check the resources page just to see what the difference is. So I'm going to put these side by side. I'm going to make this a bit bigger for you and see. I actually haven't compared this yet, so hopefully the comparison is somewhat obvious. So we might have to try another file, but you could see, well, aside from slight difference up here, we have so I probably went back too far. Some of this stuff had been changed. So let's get down more into the body of this. I wonder if this is even going to be a good example. No, it's not, because I went back too far. Sorry about that. Let me go back to a commit that's maybe... let me go somewhere that's maybe right... There we go. This should be closer. Oops. Clicked the wrong thing. There we go. And sorry, if you're not familiar with Git and GitHub and you're just kind of watching this, you're probably somewhat confused about how that works. So sorry about that. If you watch some of the previous videos, I explain more about how Git works. No, my my trackpad just ran out of batteries, so this is terrible. At least now would be a great time for me to look back at the live chat and see if I can get... I do have a mouse here. I'm going to turn this mouse on so that I don't have to actually leave and go get batteries somewhere. Although I could change the batteries out from the mouse and put them in the trackpad, but there we go. It's just easier to use the mouse. All right. I haven't used a mouse in so long. Anybody, I think if you use like a MacBook or an iMac with the trackpad, you understand what I'm talking about. Once you get used to it, it's just like using a mouse feels weird. All right, so I do have a mouse now. Let's go. I'm actually going to go to that app.js file because I think that has the most potential for improvement and probably out of any of the things that I've done. So that might be the most drastic and obvious change. So let me make this a little bigger, and so we can see. So these are the same files before and after using Prettier. So we did linting with standard JS, and then Prettier does like the auto reformatting. So let's see. So far, not bad. You saw I did take this out because obviously, like, this is not really needed if we're gonna do all of this linting. And function. I'm actually somewhat surprised at how well formatted this was. Okay, here's the big thing that you probably already even caught this. There are no semicolons at the end of the line here, but there are here. And we talked about this yesterday, is that when I was learning JavaScript, it was always like you have to use a semicolon at the end of the line, right? I mean, I think some of like the tutorials, like the in-browser tutorials, if you don't put the semicolon, it doesn't work. You have to go back and fix it. So I'm trying to get away from that, but obviously I'm still doing it. I probably don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes. So with standard JS, you don't use semicolons. Okay, so all the semicolons are gone, and everything still works, right? It's nothing's crashed. So that is an obvious thing. Here we go. This looks different. Function, sticky nav. Okay, so this is a big example of a change, right? This is really obvious. So before we had, I actually didn't write this code. You can see I got this from someone on CodePen and credited and everything, so it's legit to use. But everything was written all in one line like that, which is pretty hard to read. Now, this is automatically done, that it's all moved on to separate lines. So yes, it takes up more lines, certainly, but it's so much easier to read like that. So that is one really useful kind of change in the code there. The other thing it did was it made me, so it threw an error over this, and it made me, I was actually had to change this. I had to change this manually. It wouldn't let me just use var and define all these things. I had to use a separate var for each line. So I guess that's good to know that that's the default with standard JS. So you get the point. You can check out, you have access to the repo, you can check all this out. So I just wanted to show a quick example of how this works. Now I will check out the live chat. I'm sorry for having ignored you, but if you ever watch this, you know how I am, and once I look at the live chat, I tend to just talk a lot and to you all and answer questions. So I wanted to make sure I got through this, and wow, okay, so we pretty much got through most of what I wanted to say in less than half an hour. So we'll say this. If you are only here to check out Prettier and Standard JS and you don't really care for any of the question and answer stuff, you can, thanks for watching, and you don't have to watch anymore because that was the demo for all of that. But if you do have any questions, you want to stick around, put them in the live chat. I'll go through all the questions in the live chat, and I'll provide answers, and a lot of times everybody else in the live chat provides really great answers as well. So it's a good resource to you. If you can't stick around or you're just nervous about asking a question in the live chat, you can direct message me on Twitter, or you can put it in the comments to this video. So a link to my Twitter profile is in the description for the video. Alright, so let's get to the chat. I'm starting at the top and I'm just working my way down. Also, let me know, I was getting some messages that the stream health wasn't good. So let me know if you had any problems with this stream. That's really odd. Usually the internet connection that I have at work is really, really fast. Okay, so everybody, if you remember the beginning, was kind of shouting out where they were from, which is awesome. I love to see where you all are from. So we had Romania, Germany, another one from Germany. Somebody asked about my editor, which is great. I don't mind. I get asked that almost every video, but I don't really mind because you might have just joined in. You weren't able to check it out. I do have a link in the description to the tools, some of the tools that I use. So if you're interested in what I use, check out the description. I link pretty much everything that I'm using. I'm linking in there. We got somebody else from Los Angeles. Let's see. I had said earlier, I talked about, I asked if anyone else forgot to eat when they were working. And Patrick says, forget to eat more than I remember to eat. Rohan forgets, sometimes I forget that I've eaten. Don't even know how that happens. So like somewhat of the opposite problem. Okay, so Surav has a question, and this question was like maybe 20 minutes ago, so hopefully you're still here. If not, maybe somebody else still wants to hear the answer. Asks, how is this different from ESLint? Okay, so Vinay actually gave an answer, but I'll read it out in case you're watching this video later on and can't see the live chat. And the answer is, as I mentioned, standard JS uses ESLint, as Vinay says, under the hood. So kind of in the background, it's using ESLint. Okay, so, but it's using the standard, or like what is specified in standard JS. So, you know, if you go here and you can read about the JavaScript standard style. Okay, so basically it's using ESLint to enforce the JavaScript standard style. And you don't have to do any of the formatting. Like, you don't have to configure, sorry, you don't have to configure ESLint at all. It does it for you. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. And if not, ask for clarification and we can talk more about it. Andrew says, hello folks, I'll watch the replay on way to home. Have fun. All right. Thanks for stopping in, Andrew. You have any questions or anything later on when you watch it, put it in the comments, please. All right, so Sebastian asks, why don't you use a linter for Atom so you get the errors as you write them? Actually, to be honest with you, I have up on my other screen a couple of Atom plugins that were recommended from the page for Standard JS. So I was looking into using plugins for Atom to do just that. I just didn't have time to get it all working before the video. So if anyone uses Standard JS and uses Atom and has a plugin that you want to recommend, please let me know. And because like I said, I was trying to read through some plugins to figure out which one was the best to use, but I didn't come to any conclusion yet. All right, we have someone from Dubai. Awesome. Nodi says, nice. Anyway, I'm still learning basic JavaScript and HTML. This stream is way above my knowledge. We'll come back to it in a few months when I know a little more. So, Nodi, yeah, not every stream that I do is this high level. So some of them are really like basic CSS changes or basic JavaScript, HTML stuff. So just check out, if you want, like, you can follow me on Twitter or subscribe to the freeCodeCamp channel, and then you'll get alerts saying what topic I'm going to be working on each day. And maybe there will be a topic that'll be more like at your level where you're at right now. I'm also going to be doing some beginner videos and putting them on my own YouTube channel, which is linked in the description. So you can check that out as well. And maybe if you want to subscribe, you don't have to subscribe to my channel, but you'll get the benefit of being alerted when I do upload those. I think since I'll be on vacation next week, I'm going to be at the beach, but it's looking like there's going to be some rain. So maybe I'll try to get some of those videos done then. And so maybe they'll be posted next week. I think that would be nice, since I might not be able to live stream if the internet's down. At least maybe, or if the internet's not good enough, at least maybe I can upload some of those pre-recorded videos. And those are going to be initially aimed at like people who are just beginning. Alright, Aim High says, Nodi, you will get there. I used to be in your shoes 8 months ago. Now I'm interviewing for 4 companies. Awesome. Aim High, congratulations on that. That's really really awesome to hear. Let me know. Let us know if you get a job from any of the companies. I'd love to hear the good news. So good luck with that. Someone from Orlando sends their greetings. Hello from Nigeria. Awesome. Andrew says, if you get into industry and you're good, it escalates quickly. So good advice. Yeah, just get in there and give it a shot. Aim High says, mainly freeCodeCamp, but supplement my learning with Udemy. Okay, so awesome resources. Obviously freeCodeCamp, because if you're here, you know about freeCodeCamp. But Udemy also, $10 courses. I did a course from Udemy before that was like one of those $10 courses, and I did like it. It was useful. I know if you've heard me before say, I don't think I've spent more than like $30 on courses learning this stuff. but Udemy was one of the places that I did spend money on, and I was happy with the course. Noldy says learning with Treehouse. Treehouse is nice. I've looked at Treehouse's stuff, and it looked nice. I haven't done that much with it, but maybe if anyone watching has some experience with Treehouse too and wants to comment about it, from what I understand, it seems like it's a pretty good resource. We have someone from Russia. Awesome. So LOL asks, hey Jesse, how big is your company? How many employees? We have like 500 employees, I think. So I work at a university here in the United States, and it's a small university, so we don't have maybe like 2,000 students. So that's considered a pretty small university. And we have, I think, about 500 employees, and that includes the professors as well. So the staff and the faculty combined are about 500. And my particular, I actually work in the marketing department, and we have, in my entire department, I think it's only about 15 people. And my division within my department, there's only 3 of us, and only 2 of us actually do any code. So it's really kind of small, I guess, that we really only have 2 people doing code, and we almost never even work on the same project because we're just kind of really swamped with projects all the time. So I'm usually working by myself. As I mentioned earlier, I am getting some student workers, and maybe I'm trying to set up some internship stuff too, maybe for the fall. So hopefully I'll have some more people working. I would really love to have the student workers involved so they can get some good experience in using, GitHub and some more modern build tools and things, and get some good experience to put on their portfolio. I think that would be awesome. So anyway, I guess that's kind of small company, small university. We have hello from India. Awesome. Nobody says, what, I can stay away from using semicolon in JS? Yeah, who knew, right? I only recently found that out. I guess I'm behind the game though, that happens. If you stay off Twitter for a while, it's easy to fall behind. Aim High says, it says, Noldy, follow me on CodePen. Just go to CodePen and search my username. So I don't know if Aim High meant for me to give the username out loud, so I'm not. So I'll just leave it out. If you don't mind and you want me to read out your username so people can check out your CodePen, let me know, and I will do it. Rohan prefers the semicolon, and LOL also prefers. So okay, so we have some debate here about the semicolon. I prefer the semicolon simply because I'm familiar with it, I'm used to using it, but I imagine it will be better if I just get rid of the semicolon. That way it's just one less thing I have to worry about, one less thing I have to do. I'm sure it will speed up my coding ever so slightly, but over the long term that'll probably add up and it'll save me like 10 minutes of time, which would be important, I guess. Patrick says, I really prefer one var, let, or const with commas. Is there a way to disable that? Yeah, actually, so if you're not sure what he's referring to, we had this comparison here. Where was it? Oh, okay, here. So we when we use Prettier, when we use Standard JS to lint this, it said that I had to change this from using this var and just using one var and defining multiple variables to putting each variable being defined with its own var on a separate line there. And Patrick asks if that can be disabled. I'm pretty sure it can. There's anything that you can do in ESLint in terms of disabling or customizing, you can do with standard JS because it's using ESLint in the background. And if worse comes to worse, you could just add in, like in a comment tag, disable ESLint if you wanted to, and just disable that portion. That's kind of like, would be a pain to have to do that all the time, but if you really wanted to, that would work. Andrew says, Jesse, have any experience with browser extension? So you mean like making a browser extension? If you mean making a browser extension, then no, I've never actually made my own browser extension. I have been interested in doing it at times in the past, but I just never really like had the time or like a real need to do it. But also, at least for my purposes, if I wanted to make a browser extension that could do something, it's easier for me to use something like TamperMonkey, which I do use, and then just write the code in TamperMonkey and apply it. So I kind of get around having to really learn how to make a browser extension, and I can still get done what I want to get done. So, but otherwise, I don't have any direct experience with making a browser extension. All right, we have someone from Palestine. Welcome. And sorry, it keeps, for some reason, normally it doesn't do this, but today in the live chat, I don't know why, but I keep getting bounced down to the bottom of the chat, so I keep losing my place. All right, so okay, Palestine, someone from Moldova. Oh, Andrew from Moldova, awesome. I have, my wife has some nieces and nephews, and actually one of them is my goddaughter, who were adopted from Moldova. So, awesome. Nigeria, welcome. Daft Derp asks, are you done? Yeah, actually, so I know it's way early, right? I've only been on for 40 minutes. So, and at the time when you asked that, I'd only been on for half an hour. So, yeah, basically for the topic of the stream, I'm done with that. So, I know we had talked about doing shorter streams, so I'm making an effort to do shorter streams. If you're just coming in and you missed it, the replay will be available on freeCodeCamp just a few minutes after I end the stream, so you can watch the replay. Andrew says, today I made some big rebases and merges, had to remove some big files from entire repository history, 386 commits. Wow, that's crazy. Yesterday we did a stream on doing merges of pull requests and stuff. So, wow, that seems like, I mean, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what to compare that to, but that really seems like a lot of commits to be working with there. Yidong asks, where do you deploy the website? AWS? It's actually DigitalOcean. All right, and Rohan answered that. So yeah, DigitalOcean. We do, here at the university, we have 3 different hosts, right? Well, actually 4 different hosts. The main website, which is franciscan.edu, is actually hosted here on campus, and the IT department runs their own physical servers there. Okay, that is actually going to change soon, and we're going to, when we redesign the site, which will be like probably the next really major project that I do. I'll do a lot of little projects in between when I start that one, but we host that there. We host some sites on GoDaddy, so we just have like a little shared hosting account that we just do some really minor stuff with. But it's nice to have because you can do like the one-click 5-minute WordPress install and have something going, and so we also host on DigitalOcean, and we have a site on AWS. All right, we have someone from Mexico. Awesome. All right, Nodie said, thanks, Jesse. You're welcome. All right, right, it looks like somebody was talking about getting discounts on Udemy courses, and Mobbin92 says you can go to real.discount. I've never been there, so I'm not endorsing this site because I don't know what's on there, but I guess there's discounts for stuff on there. I'm not sure how to pronounce most of this name, but it ends with Isaac, and I know how to pronounce Isaac, so I'm sorry. I just didn't want to mess up your name, so I didn't want to attempt it. But it says, which would you advise, becoming a full stack developer or front end developer? One day I would like to know enough about the back end to be able to say I'm full stack. Right now, I'm only comfortable saying that I'm front end. And my idea was, well, I'll start with front end and make money with that, and then slowly work my way to learn everything, learn the back end and be full stack. So that was my idea, and that's how I wanted to do it. I will say, if you start from the outset saying I want to be full stack, you'll probably get there sooner. For me, I just had a family, I need to take care of, and I need to pay the bills. So it was like, okay, I'm going to start out because I know I can get money doing front end work right now. So I haven't made it to full stack as quickly as I had hoped. Just because I'm busy, doing my job as doing front end stuff. So it kind of depends on what you want. It's easier to become a front end developer than a full stack. It'll take less time. So if you really need to kind of get into it and start making money with it, go front end first and then learn the rest. But if you have the time to just dedicate to learning, go full stack, and then you'll make more money as a full stack developer, most likely, anyway. So that's my advice. Maybe you all in the live chat have some better advice than that or some alternate opinions, but that's kind of my viewpoint on it. Okay, there's someone from Wales. Awesome. Hello. Andrew says, with time you will be full stack even if you don't want it. And that's kind of true. I'm sure Andrew was joking a little bit, but that is actually kind of true. If you'll see, like, if you've watched any of my streams before, occasionally I'm doing stuff that's definitely not front end, even though I'm a front end developer. And especially if you're on a small team or freelancing, yeah, you're gonna have to learn a lot of stuff eventually. So yeah, I mean, probably most of us, even if we're doing mostly front-end stuff, occasionally do have to do back-end stuff from time to time. So it wouldn't be that much of a jump for us to just do some more learning and jump in and be doing full stack. Not to say that it's easy to be full stack, but just to say that that's a natural progression. All right, I have someone from Brazil. Awesome. Hello. Andrew says semicolons are noise for me. All right, so Andrew is against semicolons, and we have Rohan and Patrick are on team semicolon. Rohan says you could do backend exclusively or networking or full stack. It's just what you like. Yeah, I didn't even mention that. Yeah, I guess it depends on what you like doing. If you don't like doing backend stuff, then don't try to be full stack. If you just like front end, stick with that, because that's important. You don't want to be stuck doing something that you don't like. Rohan says, for example, I get bored easily with one thing, so I would prefer full stack. Andrew says, or what the company has for you to work. Yeah, that's important too. If you get a job doing one or the other, then that's what you're going to do. Rohan said, with small to medium companies, you usually are overworked, but you do get to try lots of stuff. Yeah, I can understand that, Rohan. So that's where I'm at right now. Exactly. Small company, overworked, but I do get to do a lot of stuff. So I will say this, normally my schedule is nice. I don't work a lot. It's just been crazy for the last month or so. So hopefully I can get back to my normal working hours and it won't be so crazy. All right. Sebastian says, I'm Romanian, but for the past 8 to 9 years I've been living in Spain. Awesome. Andrew said he had a year in a company, and during that year tried Java, Scala, PHP, as a backend language, and even wrote SQL. So definitely a lot of stuff just to do in 1 year. Okay, the ESLint rule for repetitive var is one var. So if you're interested in learning how to get around this, being able to do this instead of being forced to do this with ESLint, the rule is one var. So you could disable one var, right? Or enable. I forget how that works. But basically, look up in the docs. Do a control find for one var. That's what you want. That's what you want to look for. Rohan's commenting on the length of the video when I was talking about that we went from like 2.7 hours to 30 minutes. Big difference. So definitely cut it down. This video is going to end up being an hour after we get through the Q&A, but the actual, I want to say, not that I did any coding today, but what would normally be the coding portion was only 25 minutes, which may be a record. I think in my early streams I kept it pretty short, but that's definitely short compared to what we've been doing. Joshua asks, what UI library do you like to use with React? I've been having trouble with the app bar on Material UI. So for this project, I actually use Materialize, just their regular framework. And I've had to adapt things to React at times. So I don't know that I recommend doing. Normally I do recommend Materialize. I really like that framework. I've used it a lot, and I'm familiar with all their conventions of like class names and things. So it's easy for me to build things rapidly with Materialize. But I am going to need to switch. Now that most of what I'm doing is in React, I think I'm going to need to switch to something that is more React specific. So I know there is someone linked, I can't remember, maybe it was Vinay, maybe yesterday, linked to a set of React components that were based on the Materialize framework. So I'm going to have to check those out. I know there's Material UI, there's Material MD, or no, is it React MD? I think I must have closed the tab, but there was another material design style React framework that's out there as well, and it was MD something. So I don't have a React component library to recommend to you, but I mean I have used Materialize with React, and it's basically worked without too many issues, even though it's not really made for React components. Andrew has some good advice when we were talking about commits and everything, git commits. It says, when you remove something from the entire repository history, every commit changes, hashes. So you have to be careful and announce to all the team members. Yeah, definitely keep that in mind when you're trying to decide how you're going to merge things, and if you're making changes to your commits, how is that going to affect your other team? If it's just you, then you can pretty much do whatever you want, I guess, and it won't really matter. But if you have a team of people submitting pull requests and all working on a project, then you don't want to mess everything up for them. So decide on beforehand, I guess, on how you're going to handle things like that with your team. Vinay asked, did you check now.sh for hosting? Actually, I went to a conference where they demonstrated how to use Now to get a site up and running, and you can even buy domain names right through the command line. It was really awesome and quick. So I am familiar with using that. I think I would like to use it at some point. I mean, obviously not for this project. We already have everything set up. But possibly for some smaller projects, I would like to do that. I'm not sure, obviously we're doing some load balancing, and we have this running on multiple servers, and then there's a lot more going on here, but I think there will be some smaller sites that I'll be working on in the near future. I think that would be a good candidate for trying that out. I'll have to look into the pricing as well, because obviously I would want to use, if I'm doing this officially for my job, we're going to be using a custom domain. And I think if you use your own domain at that point, you have to be using. I don't remember the pricing structure, but anyway, I'll have to check. The only thing basically I need to look into is the pricing and to see if it would make sense to do it like that. But otherwise, I'm very impressed with using Now for hosting. So if you're not familiar with that, the same people that do Next.js, which is the basically kind of, I don't know what the right term for it is, but like the scaffolding for that I'm using to build with React, those same people do Now, which is a way to very easily deploy straight from the command line right to hosting, and it's so simple. Definitely check it out. I don't want to spend a lot of time describing what I saw at this conference, because you could probably just find a video of it, or check it out for yourself and see. But I mean, literally, as I mentioned, you can do as much as even buy a domain name right from the command line, and in a few commands have a completely new website up and running with your own custom domain and an SSL and all that. It's really, really kind of slick and nice process. Nodi says, LOL Jesse, I'm following the same footsteps. I'm focusing on front end, then later on back end, but I want to get my foot in with front end. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad, like I said, it depends on what you need, what point in life you're in and what you need. I mean, for me, it's just like, I didn't have time to just spend a lot of time studying and dedicate my time to that. I needed to make money. Like, literally, I had quit a job, and I was looking for work and couldn't find work, and I needed to make money and learn something. So I caught a break, and a friend of mine had a marketing company that needed some website work, someone to do website work, and I was getting some work on the side with them, and the way for me to get even more work was to learn this stuff. So that was what I needed to do, because I had a family and I had to pay bills. So if I had to do it again, maybe I would have, and I was completely single with not a lot of responsibilities, maybe I would have tried to just dedicate a bunch of time to just learning and be full stack. But either way, I think is definitely a respectable, legitimate way of going. It just depends on what you need. Matt says, it pays to spend the time to really learn one aspect first. Okay, so awesome. Yeah, something to be said for focusing, I guess, on focusing your attention on one thing. Sebastian asks, where should I start looking for work as a front-end dev? And we have some answers in the live chat. I'll read them out. Rohan says, oh, this isn't an answer to that question. Andrew says Stack Overflow. So yeah, definitely. Stack Overflow has this whole job board that's really awesome. So let me bring this up. Just in case, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Stack Overflow, but if you haven't seen the jobs yet, you see the jobs right here, right? And they will show you jobs based on what you searched for on Stack Overflow, like assuming you have an account and everything, and they have your data. And usually, they're awesome jobs. Check this out: front end developer, 90 to 130K. That's insane. That's a lot of money. Way more than I make. So if you check it out, you get lots of details about the job right there. So I would just check it out, check out there, and then it's as simple as this, and you get a lot of other related jobs. I've been really impressed with Stack Overflow. We're actually advertising a position here at this university for a web developer on Stack Overflow right now. And I was really the one who pushed for we need to list on Stack Overflow, because I was so impressed with how they do things and how they suggest jobs to people. I thought that was kind of really no other site has that kind of data and that user base to be able to do what Stack Overflow Jobs does. So if you're looking to get a full-time job, definitely do that. If you want to just find freelance work, then networking with people directly I found to be way better than going on one of the freelance job sites. The jobs I got from those sites were usually not very high paying, and they didn't amount to much. I didn't get repeat clients or a lot of good leads from there. That was just my experience. The better clients were personal connections, and I would have a client that they were really impressed with what I did, and then they recommended me to other people they knew, and then it just kind of grew. My like freelance business grew naturally like that. So it takes a little while, but those clients were repeat clients, and they were great to work with. So that I had a better experience with that. There was some discussion more about whether to go full stack or front end first. Rohan prefers networking and back end, but hasn't really had a real job yet, so doesn't really know for sure. Matt says better to focus in one direction or the other, and that leads to deeper understanding in one spot. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you force yourself to focus, you're going to be way better at that one thing than you ever would have if you didn't. There's a quote from somebody, I have no idea who it was, but I read a book before, and they were saying that to be great at something, you have to say no to everything else, right? So you have to focus on that one thing if you want to be as great as you possibly can at that one thing. Even though you could be great at lots of different things, if you were to choose to do those things, you have to focus on one if you want to be really good. So I definitely agree with that. I mean, there are some really talented people that are great full stack developers, but even then, if they would have focused all their attention, I think, on one area, they could have been even better at that one area than they already are. But I mean, you need people you need some people that don't want to focus and want to have a more broad understanding. And there are jobs for all different types of people depending on what you want to do. If you want to focus or if you want to have a more general knowledge of more things. Zachary says, it feels like the line between front and back end is so blurred in the JS world. I agree. There's definitely some blurring there. I mean, because you're running JavaScript on client side and server side, so a lot of it does feel the same. Like when I switch over, like, I'm doing front end stuff basically, but I have this server.js file. Like, have I now switched to the back end world just with one click here? Like, it's still all the same thing. I'm using const. I'm using JavaScript. Like it does feel weird sometimes. Like where is that line? But anyway, I mean, like I said, I think most of what I do is front end, so it's clear in my mind that I'm a front end developer, even though I do back end stuff occasionally. Blazertron, all right, so we're back to the semicolon debate. Blazertron says, learning the basics of JS, but I'd rather use semicolons mainly because I've been told that. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm probably going to try not to use semicolons as much as possible, and certainly now that it's going to automatically take them out for me, I'm not going to have them, but yeah, I've always been told use semicolons, so it is kind of a weird thing. Although learning to use React was the same way, because you've always been told don't put your CSS in line and mix it with your HTML. And then we come to React and we have JavaScript, HTML, and CSS all mixed together. Right? It just seems weird. Once you get used to it, it's actually really nice, but it's hard at first. It seems like the live chat is like a never-ending chat today, which is great. It looks like we have some great discussion going on here. So I'm going to keep... Yeah, I'd say probably we can get through this in about 10 minutes. So about 10 minutes I'm going to end so I can kind of move on to do some other work that is probably boring and I don't want to put on a live stream. So if you got a question, get it in about 10 minutes. If I can't get to all the questions, then please put them in the comments or direct message me on Twitter, and I will answer them. So person asks, how long have you been learning? I've been learning for the past year, and it feels like I'm not progressing anywhere. I've been learning this for a long time. I first learned how to build websites in 2003, somewhere around there, And that was just basic stuff. We just opened up Notepad on a PC and started doing basic HTML and CSS and doing layout with tables and things like that. But I didn't really do that much with it after that. So I would say I've only really been like intensely trying to learn JavaScript in particular for like maybe the last 4 years, 5 years. I don't even want to say 5. Like maybe the last 3 or 4 years have I really been focused on getting better at JavaScript. Before that, I was doing websites, but I wasn't like intentionally saying I want to get really good with JavaScript. It was more, I was focusing more on CSS at that point. So I'd say 3 years of more intense focus to get where I'm at right now. So don't be discouraged if it feels like you're not progressing. It doesn't always go. Sometimes you learn a lot really fast and you feel awesome, and then you work for a long time and it feels like you're not getting anywhere. And then you'll hit another like spurt, like a growth spurt, right? Remember when we were kids and you just like you'd go to have summer break and you'd come back to school and some people would be like giants and because they hit a growth spurt, right? The same thing happens in coding. That's probably a terrible analogy, but the same thing does happen with coding. Like all of a sudden, you just like, it seems like things are just all making sense, and you just get really good, and then you'll hit another plateau. You'll have a point where it doesn't seem like you're progressing. But just because it doesn't seem like you're progressing, like you're learning things, you're retaining things. It just needs to fit together for you. So if this is something you really want to do and you enjoy doing, then stick with it. Don't get discouraged. I'm constantly looking back at things I did even a few months ago and saying, wow, like I definitely would do it differently now. I've learned, I've gotten better. And you'll get there. You'll have a bunch of those moments. Patrick's going back to the semicolon thing. Patrick does not care about semicolons in and of themselves, but more about consistency. So if you're doing simple JS with no tooling preventing you from, then use semicolons. So I guess use whatever you're used to using if you don't have tooling to make it consistent for you. So that seems to be Patrick's point there, which is a good point. Person clarified the question a little bit, but I think I answered that. Matt, in response to Person, says, it starts slow, but it can really pick up. Find some projects doing something you enjoy, and it will pick up fast. The more you enjoy it, the easier it will be for you to spend more time with your head in it. Good advice, Matt. And Person asks, any projects you recommend? I'd love to work on some. So, I don't know what your level is at in terms of projects. I know there are some websites that just have project ideas. I don't remember what the addresses are for those sites now, but I'm sure if you kind of search for that concept, you'll find some. You could also try, some of the like coding tutorials have projects you could work on, like freeCodeCamp. If you haven't gone through freeCodeCamp stuff, there are a lot of projects, and you don't have to go through everything to get there first. You could just pick one out and try it if you want, just to get an idea. Or you can, sometimes I just ask people, like friends and family, like, hey, do you have any good ideas for websites or apps or anything like that? And see if there's a good idea that they have that you could work on. Especially if they're not coders, then they're obviously never going to do that. They're never going to use their ideas. So they'd probably be really happy if you tried to make their idea really happen. Nody says, hey Jesse, I just installed standard and the brackets extension. Is that it? Okay, so I'm all right. So I don't use brackets, so I'm just assuming that it's similar enough to Atom that this would work. So you'll need to, if you're using the extension, then that should give you the warnings right there. So yeah, that should work. You should, as long as you're seeing the warnings about syntax in your editor, then you're good to go. It may not work exactly like mine's working, where it like automatically checks everything as soon as I do a commit. So that part you might need to set up differently. But if you just want like the linting in editor, then you should be good to go. Somebody who maybe uses brackets might be able, if you're in the live chat now, maybe you'll be able to give some better, more specific advice. All right, Andrew has good advice, kind of along the lines with what I was saying my experience was check your code from 1 year ago. And if you feel it needs improvement, then you've grown. That's great advice. Yeah, if you look at code you did from an earlier time and you notice things like, oh, I should have done this differently, or I can correct that, then you know you've learned. You know you've improved, because obviously when you wrote it, you didn't know enough to make it the right way, like it should have been. So, great advice. Matt says, about 2 years ago, I went on a family vacation to Alaska, and to share pictures, I set up a website to upload and display photos, videos. Think like private Facebook. Yeah, that's a really good idea. So that's a good idea of a project to do, if you're interested in something like that. Thanks for that. I really like that idea. I might do that. That might be a legit idea for me to work on vacation, and not have everybody be mad at me for working on vacation, because I'm actually doing something that will contribute to the vacation. So that's good. I'm going to share a little personal thing right here. I hope you don't mind. But I'm going on vacation with all my wife's side of the family, so her brothers and their wives and their kids, and my mother and father-in-law, and some of her aunts and her uncles. So all her side of the family, they're very creative and like musically talented. So there's always like these times where like, okay, we're gonna have like a talent night, like everybody write a story and we're gonna read it out to them, or we're gonna play songs or music. And I have no musical ability at all. I really like music. I like to listen to music, but I can't make music. I'm not a good singer, like nothing. And when I hear, like, I got an email saying we're going to do like a contest about writing a story on vacation, and I get like anxiety over that. Like, I don't really want to write this story. And to me, I'm like, can I just make a website? Would that work? Because that makes me excited, but the other stuff makes me have anxiety. So the reason why I shared that was I'm thinking maybe instead of me contributing with some musical thing or a story, my contribution could be some very useful website that can capture that family vacation, and everybody can go to it and remember it. So Matt, thanks for that idea, because I might actually do that. We'll see. I don't want to work all of vacation. I really do want to hang out with my family and my kids, but it would be nice to just code a little bit. I don't know. I just feel if I go for a long time without coding, I feel weird. Like I miss it. Does anybody else ever get that feeling? On the negative side, I think like maybe I'm addicted to coding and this is a problem. On the positive side, I think, hey, I found something that I really love to do. So it could go one way or another, depending on how you want to look at it. But I'm interested to see if anybody else feels like that. Let me know. I suspect somebody else has to feel like that. I can't be the only one. And if I am, then maybe I do need to get some professional help. Need to talk to a counselor or something. Matt says in regard to that site, that Facebook-like site, he worked with PHP, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and getting ready to rewrite it in Django. So he says, in my current role, I am a DBA leading up a Django project to rewrite our main application. Awesome. All right, so Rohan says improvement. If I see code from 7 to 10 months ago, I feel like killing someone until I realize this was me. That's great. I love that sentiment, right? So I cringe when I look at old code. Occasionally, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be." But usually, I'm like, I don't even want to look at it. I just like, all right, this site still works. Like, I'm just gonna let it go. I don't want to revisit this. Persum says, that's awesome. I haven't had much inspiration. And Andrew, I just checked my stuff from a year ago. You're right. There was definitely improvements. Thanks. All right. I'm glad that we could help. I definitely want this live chat and the community that's starting to develop around it to be a very like positive, uplifting community, especially for people who are new. I think there's a lot of good tutorials and resources for new people. And I want it to be like that, but I think more importantly, this could be a place of inspiration and encouragement for people that are just starting, and for those of us, that have been doing it for a little longer and maybe just kind of getting a little bit down about things. So that's something that I think you can't get from just reading a tutorial. Not you can't necessarily get that, but in a more like active living community like this, we can help each other out in that way. And at least for me, that's if that happens, if that's what this ends up being, this stream and all of you that watch and contribute, if it ends up being a place that encourages people to learn how to code and continue in it, then I'll be happy, and I'll be happy that I did sacrifice some of the time and the effort to do this. Dafter says, what's a good resource for React convention within a large project? I'm always confused on how much I should put into a single component. I'm sure that you'll probably get an answer somewhere, but in the live chat for this, Dafter. But I would say your components should be like as small as possible. They should be only like one thing. And you may end up with a ton of components, but it's been my understanding that the correct way to do things in React is that, like, if something can reasonably be broken down into a smaller component, then do it. And then that keeps them small, it keeps them easy to understand and more modular so that you can reuse them. So does that make sense? Let me know if I need to explain that more, if that didn't make sense, or if any of you disagree with that viewpoint. But that's my understanding of ideally how it should work when you're using React. Let's see. I'm looking. We're getting back. Yeah, we've definitely hit that 10 minutes of where I said I wanted to end. So I'm just gonna see if there's any like really important questions I want to get to, especially from somebody who's new or maybe just learning. Because I definitely want to. Not that I don't appreciate all of you that are more experienced and are in the live chat a lot, but I know you won't be offended if I don't get to your question. I don't want to offend somebody if this is their first time asking a question and they get ignored. So let's see. So Cactus asks, what about markup developer? What if you don't want to create markups, but you have to do this front-end dev? Oh, so like mockups. So you're talking about design work, right? So Cactus, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're talking about design work. Like, what if you have to do design work as a front-end dev, but you don't want to? Well, I would say either if you can talk to your boss about it and see if maybe you can get a real designer or contract that out or something, then do it. Otherwise, I mean, maybe look for another job. I do have to do design work, even though I'm a front-end developer. I don't always like doing the design work, especially at the beginning of a project when it's like a blank slate. That's the worst part for me, because I could make it look like anything, so it's just hard to make a decision. But I would imagine, how many people watching are front-end developers and also have to do design work? I know I do for sure. I imagine that's somewhat common depending on how big a company you work for. So, but if you definitely don't want to be doing that, then I would recommend try to find a different job or try to bring that up in your team and see if something else could be done. You may have to keep doing it for a while until you can find something better. But I'm in the same situation, so I definitely understand that. Let's see. I'm just looking for questions right now. Usually I do read everything out, and you all know that if you've seen it before. But since this is going on pretty long, that's why I'm skipping a little bit. Aim High asks, hi Jesse, so all what you are doing is caching on the server side, all your routing is on the front end? Kind of. So yeah, basically once the page loads, so I have had the server up here for a while. So what happens is Next.js has, I'll go here and show you. So in get initial props, this fetch of the data happens on the server side. So the initial page load and everything, it all gets rendered server side, and just the HTML, is pushed out. For search engine purposes, that's good. But once the page loads and you click on an internal link, then you get no page refresh. It's all client side routing, and the API calls that would normally be here and run on the server now can run on the client as well. But I am doing a lot of caching, so potentially those calls don't even get made if they don't need to. So you can see, like, in the server, like, I'm caching it for an hour. When I'm development, I don't cache it for an hour, but so it's caching the rendered HTML where the API call has already been made on the server. They've gotten that data, rendered all that HTML. That's cached. So you can get like a really quick response from the server because it only has to go to the node server to go right back. It doesn't actually have to ask WordPress for anything because it's already cached that. So that's what I'm doing there. And then it does switch over. So if you go to the site catechetics.com and check out the routing. Oh man, it's so weird. I switched to my mouse. I'm not on my trackpad. Now it's really weird to try to find all my windows. But basically, yeah, if you try to route, and you'll notice there is no page refresh. So it's a combination of server side and client side rendering and routing. Good question, though. Let me know if you have any other question. Put it in the comments or direct message me on Twitter if you want to like talk about it in more depth as to like how and why I did it. Rohan says, "I'm addicted too. Got to do something." Aim high. I feel you, Jesse. Okay, I'm not the only one. Rohan says is saying in particular to person, but this goes for everybody that's watching now live or later on. If you want us to help outside of here, you can drop by in our IRC anytime. So we do have an IRC channel for this stream, and it's hashtag FCC Jesse. So hashtag FCC JESSE. So you can join that. I'm in there like occasionally. I am linked up on my phone, so a lot of times I do get the messages that come through. But I try to pop in, a couple times a day, and there are other people that are in there too. So if you need help with something, come in there and ask some questions, or if you're more advanced and you want to help some people, come in there and provide some of your experience. Rohan says, apart from those, Patrick, Jesse, and a few other, nobody here is even in the neighborhood of awesome. I don't think I should be put on the list of awesome either, but it says we can definitely improve. I would say the only thing awesome about me is that for some reason I decided it would be a good idea to show the world how much of a noob I am every day when I do coding. I don't know that everybody would be able to do that. So that maybe is something unique about me. But really, you all helped me so much with my improving my skills that I think I'm getting just as much, if not more, out of this than you are. Andrew says, "Now stop posting. Jesse will not finish this endless conversation." Thanks, Andrew. That is true. Yeah, I just can't stand to leave questions unanswered. If you all have questions, maybe you really need that question answered. It can make a big difference in your life. So I just want to answer it. But all right, but this will be it. Last question. Rohan asks, what would be your next project if you are allowed to reveal it? All right, let me think. What will the next project be? I don't know for sure how the order is going to be, so I'll tell you maybe one or two that's possible. There's going to be potentially a site that doesn't really have a name or URL or anything yet, but could possibly aggregate content from all of our other university sites into one place and pull it all in. If I do that site, I'm going to use the WordPress API because a lot of our sites are running WordPress, and I'm going to pull it all in. It's going to be a React site. It's going to be set up similar to this, but of course better, because why do a site exactly like you did the last one, right? You want to improve. So it'll be similar to this. If I do that, it'll be cool because I'll get to start right from scratch and show the whole way, which I know a lot of people have been asking for that, to start from scratch. So that's one potential project that it's going to happen. I'm 90% sure it's going to happen. I'm just not sure when. The other project that I was working on before this, if you look on my YouTube channel, I did a couple of live streams where I was trying to do a redesign of our main website, franciscan.edu, but I was trying to limit it within the restrictions of the current content management system that will get replaced. So basically, I was trying to make that site look nice and run as fast as possible within the constraints that I have to work in. So that was kind of a weird situation, but made it interesting because I couldn't use a lot of the tools and the techniques that I would like to use because of those constraints. So those two projects are for sure happening. There might be some little one-page sites that'll pop in here and there, but that's about as good of an answer as I can give you right now. And shoot, Andrew did ask one more question, and it's a follow-up to an earlier question, so I'm going to take it because technically I don't think it's really new. Just a clarification. Andrew's saying, so the server side also fetches data from WordPress, or is only HTML gets to the front end and then fetches? So this is, to clarify before from Aim High's question, it actually does fetch the data on the server. So if you want to test it out, I'm not going to do it right now because then I'll be here for another 10 minutes, but go to the website on your first load of the website. So don't click any links. On the first load, go to view source. So don't use the inspector, view the source, and it'll come up with a really ugly looking white page with HTML. You'll be able to see all the data right there, right? If it was fetching at client side, you wouldn't see all the data. You'd just see the initial markup that gets loaded. All right, but it's actually making the API call server side first and then sending it all completed and rendered out the way it should look. That way, search engines see the complete page. Otherwise, search engines wouldn't see all that data that we're pulling from WordPress. So that's the main reason why we do it. I haven't tested this myself, but I've heard other people say that you get a slightly faster first page load if you do it that way as well. So finally gotten to the end of the live chat. I did go kind of fast at the end, so if I missed your question, I sincerely apologize, and please ask it in the comments or message me on Twitter, and I will answer it as soon as I can. Thank you to everybody for watching. We had a lot of action in the live chat, a lot of viewers. I think above average for most of the stream. We had above average amount of viewers. So thank you so much for everything, for all the input you all had. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Not sure what the topic will be yet. I'll pick it tomorrow. And thanks to the 2 people that submitted pull requests. Big thanks to Vinay and was it Daniel? I'm gonna check so that I don't get this wrong. Shoot, and I can't find it because I don't have my trackpad. I think it was Daniel. If it wasn't, I'm sorry, but the 2 people that submitted pull requests since yesterday, I really, really appreciate that. You did an awesome job. I love the requests, and it's definitely a big improvement in the project. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.